Namaste. And welcome to TRC, the Renazance Chronicles, where truth is shared to bring life and light to the dark areas of our lives, healing us all in His name.
Welcome to the Renazance Chronicles. I am your advisor and your host, Renazance Christos. Always my pleasure to be with you, family. Thanking you for another opportunity to share. This time, hopefully, it will be short, succinct, powerful, and something that we can take and build from. As this is one of the third Chronicles that I've recorded, and it was a part of a series that came from a verse, and that verse is one that I've built my life upon. And it says, "Now abideth faith, hope, and charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity." Charity is another title or synonym for love. I was talking with someone yesterday, and we were talking about the reasons for our purpose for being. And I was like, we only have two purposes that are for man to choose, meaning man or woman. And that is to either build or destroy. Think about it. All right, family, that was the inspiration behind that book that you see behind me called Fear, the greatest show on earth, because the opposite of fear is love. And that's what I want us to talk about today as we continue to build and grow with these chronicles and these short little segments that we share. I want to say thank you for keeping up. And the word charity, the C is for the compassion that we need every day. So we got to rock this love thing no matter what they say. The H is for healthy relationships that we should start to build. It's the reason why we were designed to live. The A is for abundance that we can have when it's flowing. Understand it's love that keeps on going. The R is for the real people that you meet. Just show love and make it the main treat. I is for inspiration that we have for everyone. It happens every day from the setting of the sun. Y is for Yahweh, who we give praise to every day. And the reason for this chronicle is called charity. Thank you guys for being with us and being a part of this charity thing. And as I started to think about what should start the show off, or the chronicle, it was charity and what it really means. And three words came up in my studies and looking through the definitions, and those words were compassion, kindness, and mercy. That is what charity or love is. Charity is that compassion. That means you suffer along with somebody, not feeling sorry or sympathy or like, oh, woe is them. It's more or less like, I've been there before. I felt that. I know what it's like to go through that. That's compassion. And kindness is the acts that you do out of that compassion, the noble deeds, the things you do, not looking for anything in return. And mercy, that's beautiful. That's compassion and kindness that is shown to someone who is undeserving. Now think about that. Someone who is undeserving. That's why today's story in the Chronicle will really lay out what it means to show compassion, kindness, and mercy, and do it with a flow of understanding that it'll come back to you. It always does. As my career ended and I started going and working for some nonprofit agencies, these were what you call charitable organizations. And me, like you as a kid, I would give to the Red Cross or the American Cancer Society or these other charity events or organizations, I should say, that were meant to help out and aid people. And I was like, okay, good, charity. And in church, you had the little charity offering. So I was learning about charity, but we weren't taught how to show it for real, for real. Today's story about the Good Samaritan will show that, but just think about the charitable organizations. I worked behind the scenes and I was wondering, okay, they're getting all this money in. What's going on with the problem that they're supposed to be fixing or resolving? And I would see things that was like, they argued about money, about who would get this, and they would get the money, but the problem would go on and keep persisting. And then I started looking at this can't happen everywhere. And that's right, it doesn't happen everywhere. It happens only in this great place that we have all these charity organizations, and the problems still go on 20, 30, 40 years later. But then I started looking at other people like Cuba. Think about that. Cuba, that small little region on the map, that little small dot basically, has one of the best health organizations in the entire globe. That's right, the communist country, I should say, has one of the best organizations where it's called the MGI Model. And either other countries are sending their people to go train in Cuba to learn how to better aid in these cancers and these other things that are plaguing society. And now we have the COVID virus, so there's so much more added to it. But what they do is they focus on treating the patients. They quoted, I hate America to say this, but they eliminated a lot of the unnecessary courses. That's right, they focus on exactly what is needed for that region. And another beautiful part is the doctors stay usually within that community region. And that means they know more about the environment and they can better treat their patients. They've cured cancer. Back in 1871, they eradicated cholera. Smallpox in 1921. Cuba got rid of malaria in 1967. Yeah, Cuba. Meningitis in 89 and 91. They eradicated the measles in 1993. And we're taught that these are the communist people who just don't do right and this is not the place where we want to go. Cuba. So when you think about these charity organizations that you're helping and assisting, what are we really doing? That's what today's story is about. Today's story is about how to act with kindness and not expect gratitude. That's the quote I want you to write down or begin to try to live out. Act with kindness. Do not expect gratitude. It's a little bit difficult in our American society, but this story will really give us more of a light of how we can start to show charity, the true meaning of charity, and start to change this environment, because this pandemic is revealing so much about us as a core, and we're broken, we're shattered, and we're apart. But charity, true charity, heals all wounds. And this is a story of the Good Samaritan. It's taken from the book of, I think it was Luke, and around the 10th chapter, 25th verse. Okay, you can look this one up for me. But on one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law, he replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You've answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. Just pause for a second. There's the answer right there. If you want to inherit this eternal life and change what's going on around in us, in our society, in the present reality, on the realm we're living in, those are the two things. Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said, do this and you will live. Problem solved. But some of us like to be so smart and so full of ourselves that we go on. And in verse 29, he says, but he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? Yeah, the lawyer, the one who's supposed to know the law. In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Sad situation. Verse 31, a priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came to where the man was, and when he saw him, took pity on him. We'll change that word to compassion. Verse 34, he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. He didn't just drop him off at the ER and say, hey, I found him, yeah, you do the rest. No, he took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expenses you may have. Charity. See what the Samaritan did now. But listen to the rest of the tale. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell in the hand of the robbers? Now here's the lawyer, the one who tried to tangle Jesus up in the law. He replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. That is the chronicle I'd like to begin to break down, and hopefully we can understand that we have the same capacity, if we so choose, to show charity when we're out here, especially in today's society with all the brokenness, all the splintered personalities, and the evil intent of so many men. But these things are coming to a change. Love is taking over because this has happened for too long. We've heard this story year in, year out, and we still have not understood the root of the Good Samaritan. So I'd like to share a few pointers about the story and what it can do to help us. Because when the lawyer was trying to twist Jesus up, and it was like, so who is your neighbor? When he asked that question, he was hoping for an answer that would confound or have Jesus confused. He didn't expect for the story. So then he gets the story, and after he gets the story, he answers his own question, saying the one who showed kindness and mercy. So that means he knew the answer the whole time. And this point that I'd like to bring out right now, I just shared with a young man last night who's studying the Word, and he's really on the path, and he's a seeker after knowledge, and he's really taking a lot of great information. But what I shared with him was something that even I read and Jesus said it. And what he was telling the little lawyer, knowing the law is okay, but living the law can't do by a book. And see, a lot of us were taught that that book was what we had to abide by. And what I want to share with you is that book is the law, but the way you live it is the life and the spirit that is inside of you. Now, if you give your spirit up to any little thing that comes your way, your spirit is going to be incomplete, so you might not be able to flow as well. So that's why if you're out there and you're using things to substitute for your happiness, find out something that you can put in place of it. A study habit, a move, a different mode of operation to change that dependency upon that thing that brings happiness for a moment, and then it's gone, and you have to spend more money or do more things or create more chaos just to receive that. And see, the two individuals who went by first, they saw the man and they passed by on the other side. I hope you caught on to that, because a lot of us will see people who need their assistance and we'll think, well, maybe the next person will do it or somebody else. And we'll think, well, their story is, they could do better. You're probably right. Yeah, I've said the same thing too. But then I started living in this community, as I said, and seeing these individuals more often than not, and started talking with them. And they'd given up, and they had no Samaritan to come by and help them. And so they're still laying on the side of the road, beaten, robbed. They have nothing, but no one stopping to have compassion and kindness. So what I took from it was the two individuals who were supposed to know the law in and out, the priest and the Levite, went by on the other side because they knew the law, and they said that they couldn't touch anything unclean. So the law said, don't touch them. But the Samaritan, on the other hand, decided to show compassion because apparently he had experienced this type of hurt and pain as well. Just like many of you, you're experiencing that right now. And I'm saying, if you just yield to him and let him show you some compassion, he might have to send someone into your life to do that, and you'll see them and you'll know that they're doing it from the intent, not out of sympathy, but out of love for you. And then another thing, how he showed kindness, he took out oil and wine. Now, if you know anything about that time and region, those are some pretty high commodities, but he used those two things to help bandage this man who was on the side of the road beaten, who everyone else had walked by. He decided that he would take the time to show this kindness, and he did these deeds not to be seen, but because the man needed it. And this is what he felt compelled to do. Now, the thing about the Jews and Samaritans, we need to understand that's kind of like the black and white race, to be simple with it. These two individuals, they did not like each other. One called the other one unclean. So for a Samaritan to stop, see this man, go assist him, then use his oil and wine to clean his wounds and bandage them, then put him on his donkey or ass, if you'd like to say it, and take him to an inn, where he probably, if we're just thinking together, he probably assisted some more and probably did some more with his wounds. And then he leaves and says, here's the money for his expenses for 2 days. I'll be back. And if he has any more, I'll take care of that. So we know from that, he wasn't some just broken down Samaritan. He was someone who had some type of stature or some type of prominence. But it didn't matter because he didn't worry about his status or his title. This individual needed assistance. And when we're out here every day, we're thinking about who should we assist. Family, you can't just pick and choose. We all need help. If we start helping each other out more, we can begin to build communities. I talk to too many individuals who don't even talk to their families, haven't done it in maybe 6-7 years. They're broken. And this is not just black, this is white. These are Jews, these are, you name it, these are all people of all races. We are broken. It was intentionally done. And that's why I'm intentionally doing this chronicle, because we're going to start to intentionally heal each other. It's going to start with one little small pocket. And when we get enough of us together healing, we'll get the other ones to understand this is what happens when you show means to suffer along with. And as I begin to close out this chronicle, thinking of this individual, and Jesus said, go do this and you shall live. Think about that last verse. When he said, go do this and you shall live. The question was, how do I get eternal life? Well, this is how you do it. And these were what Jesus did when he summarized the 10 Commandments. For those who study that and those who know about it, you looked in the Torah, you know about the law. There goes that particular saying again about the letter killeth and the spirit giveth life. See, I know the 10 Commandments, but when I started letting him teach me how to walk it out, it was no longer a strain to not kill my brother or not commit adultery or covet or whatever those 10 things were. I stopped knowing them because the two that made the main difference were love. And love has to be authentic. It has to be the same love every time, no matter the situation, and it needs to be done with some poise. All right, some love. It needs to be non-judgmental. All prejudice, they're non-existent. They don't exist. They mean nothing at all. They need help. And it needs to have a flow, continuous moving, leading to a destination. And that's what charity truly is. And as I think about the show and thinking of the closing, I was thinking of what is this, a story that I could quickly, briefly share with you that you may visualize. And also you may be able to recall times you've done this. And if you were a child born in the 50s or 60s, 70s or 80s, you knew what Christmas was like. You know what it was like on that one day. We can talk about the other days, but that one day when you went to grandma's house or wherever you convened with your family. And when I think about that, when I think about charity, as a kid, I still remember how it feels, and I try to give it out every day. And I want you to think about this one. And when you go to it, don't get caught up in the gifts and who didn't like who and those things. Just think about how you felt that day. The wonderful emotion. Christmas Day, you got up and you did your thing, and you knew you were going to grandma's house or however you planned it, and then you got there. Now with us, if dinner was supposed to start at 3, we didn't eat until 7. That's just how it went down. But those 4 hours, we filled it in with many things. The aunts would be in the kitchen. They would be getting the food ready and cakes cut and so on and so forth. We'd have one aunt helping out with the gifts, putting them all up, getting them stacked. You'd have the young kids putting the tree together, the younger, and then you had the smaller kids outside playing. It was just a great day. We just enjoyed each other. All of our differences did not matter for those 6 or 7 hours. And that's what that love was like. That's what that charity, that's what we knew. We suffered all year, but this day was our day. We showed deeds of kindness to each other. And we did it to people who didn't always deserve it. And that day just went on, and I can remember the food that we shared when we finally sat down, and the smells, and how we'd eaten, the talking, and the uncles laughing, and granddad in the back just waiting on the gift time. That was a Christmas day for me. And no matter what happened throughout the year, that one day for those 6 hours, none of those things mattered. And that's what charity is. When none of those things matter about the people in front of you getting the best from you. I could only go by my grandfather. I remember some little $2 Old Spice. Yeah, you remember Old Spice at Cologne? But his face, I could still see it right now. It had so much joy from a $2 bottle of cologne. That's what charity is. When you share the most and they receive it and they show you the joy back. So I pray that this chronicle helps you as we go forward and we show love, faith, and hope. And we build up and we change everything. And we start our new heaven and new earth. I am Renazance Christos. I want to say thank you for sharing this time with me, and always, Selah.
Praises and continual thanks to everyone who shared in this moment of refreshing water, bringing life and light to our souls. This has been TRC, the Renazance Chronicles, a Hustle Flow Media production.